Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, Susan Aitken, the Moose of Glasgow, she is busy trying to get the people of Glasgow to pay for her to jet off to Dubai for a week for a little jolly so she can look important. Meanwhile, the city council itself is in such a financial hole that it's probably close to bankruptcy. And yet they can find the money to send her abroad. It's weird, isn't it? They are paying £1.5 billion to rent their own buildings, having sold everything off. And they have a historical debt to pay for failing to pay men and women at the same rate. They don't know how they're going to do it. It is that close to bankruptcy. And of course it'll be London's fault, because it always is, even though it was them in charge of their own city that have got themselves into this state. Nothing to do with London, of course, but that's not how the SNP will spin it. And so they're looking now at ways of, raising money. Now, there's only one way for these people to raise money, isn't it? The people of Glasgow are going to have to pay for the mistakes of Glasgow Council. I think perhaps the first thing that should happen is that every member of that council should be forced to sell their own homes first and put that money in the pot, and then we'll take it from there, thank you very much, and see what happens. Of course, that won't happen, but it should in a just world. Unfortunately, we live in an SNP world, not a just one. Anyway, we'll take a quick look at this, see why it's so appallingly bad, and see what they're going to try and do about it. But it is bad. Here goes. I mean, you look at this and you think it's so bad it can't be accidental. It's got to be deliberate. It's the... you can't make such a series of bad decisions accidentally. Put it that way. Anyway, SNP-led Glasgow Council is to pay £1.5 billion to rent its own buildings, and with council tax to be hiked and services axed to avoid a Birmingham-style bankruptcy. And even then, I don't think it can avoid the bankruptcy. The local authority is facing an eye-watering bill so that it can pay off equal pay claims. But it is the regular people living in the city who will bear the brunt of council mismanagement. The councillors have mismanaged. They must be liable. People must sue these councillors for their money first before they raise a penny from the people of Glasgow. SNP-led Glasgow City Council is said to pay a huge £1.5 billion to rent its own iconic buildings, and can be forced to hike up council tax and service fees to avoid going bankrupt like Birmingham. This staggering amount will be spent over the next 30 years to settle £770 million of equal pay claims. And they're putting it over 30 years in the hope that a lot of people will die before they finish paying the claims. This is so cynical of them. The residents of the city have been warned that to pay for this huge financial shortfall, they will probably need to be putting more cash into the local authorities' coffers than ever before. In other words, council tax are going right up, fees going right up, everything you can think of, add £1 here, £2 there. It's not going to get good. You can guarantee they'll expand the ULEZ, they'll expand this, they'll put that. The whole reason, of course, they want the congestion charge is simply so they can charge more because they're desperate for the money. They will destroy the economy of the city and end up with even less. And they don't realise this because they're Marxists. They're stupid. They are immensely stupid. Analysis done by our sister paper, the Sunday Mail, revealed that the eye-watering sums which the council will need to pay out, and this includes rent payments increasing from 32 million a year to 70 million, and the eventual bill of 1.5 billion in rent in order to service the loans of 770 million pounds, which will be the money they need to make good on the inequality in pay that they've had. Now, they're selling off buildings. They had to sell off the Kelvin Grove Art Gallery and the City Chambers, and they're selling off everything. They are selling the kitchen sink. Now, the deal included the sell-off of almost every valuable building in the city, including Kelvin Hall, Gallery of Modern Art and the SEC Armadillo. Rent for Kelvin Grove Art Gallery alone will be over £4 million a year. Glasgow City Council were forced to find ways to raise cash so they could find £770 million for a settlement with 19,000 workers who had been underpaid simply because they were women, like school canteen workers, for example. They created a network of arm's-length companies who they sold valuable property assets to. These organisations then struck a loan agreements totalling £759 million with private finance firms, with rent needing to be paid on the buildings, which will be around £32 million. Nobody voted for this. Nobody who voted these people in voted to have their assets sold out from under them. These councillors need to go to court, need to be imprisoned for what they have done. They have effectively defrauded the city of Glasgow and the people of Glasgow. They have embezzled billions of pounds and they need to pay for it. And those properties need to come back into public ownership free of charge. And then the companies that lose money need to prosecute individually each one of those councillors that signed this off and get their money back. And that, of course, would stop this shit happening again. It is unbelievable. Who in the public, which of the taxpayers, the council taxpayers, the residents said that they wanted to agree to this? Because you can guarantee it was never in the manifestos. Anyway, the total repaid for the £550 million loans is likely to be around nearly £1 billion, 938 million. While the second deal to borrow another 220 million will cost taxpayers 608 million. So £1.5 billion needed to pay for their screw-ups because you employ morons. And the moment you make politicians liable for the costs of their decisions, let me tell you, those decisions will improve. A council source warned that the worst was yet to come. They told the Sunday Mail the alternative would have been the council effectively declaring itself bankrupt, like Birmingham. Fine, go ahead, go bankrupt. But they won't let that happen because they're the SNP and they never, ever fail. Well, they've failed big time here, haven't they? The cuts are already being made and they're going to accelerate and deepen to the detriment of thousands of people who live in the city. The other side of this is that the council is going to need to squeeze every last penny of revenue out of the public. That's likely to come through increased council tax bills, the introduction of congestion charges, parking charges, fees for the renting of football pitches or charging for entry to galleries, parks and museums, which have been free until now. There's no guarantee that this is over either. But when the next crisis hits, there'll be nothing left to sell. Already plans have been proposed to introduce a £15 congestion charge for driving into the city. And the council tax has risen 5% this year. Glaswegians will also be charged to get their garden waste bin collected. Because, of course, that's Willy Reddy, isn't it? So, of course, they will. They'll be charging for everything. You want to make a phone call? Every phone in Glasgow will be a pay number. You have to ring that. You'll be a number you have to pay to ring them. It'll be like that. They are going to absolutely screw everything out because they have screwed up royally. And yet the people of Glasgow will probably still vote SNP. Goes to show how stupid people are when they keep voting for this party. It is absolutely the turkeys voting for Christmas. Well, no good deed goes unpunished, as they say. And if you keep voting for them, they'll keep screwing you. What is wrong with people? Why are people so effing stupid as to think the SNP are going to do anything other than screw it up time and time again? Every single time. They can't help themselves. Anyway, Lib Dem economy spokesman Willie Rennie said it will be decades before the council owns its own buildings once again. And that's a depressing state of affairs that speaks to the parlous state of local government finances. For years, the SNP and their Green allies have passed budgets that take an axe to the budget for local government. Perhaps it's time the nationalists in power in Glasgow push back against the nationalists in power in the Scottish government and urge them to pick a different path. Leader of the council, Tubby Aitken, admitted the prime of the deal would be high, but insisted it was necessary to right an egregious wrong caused by you, caused by your party, caused by the SNP. The SNP should pay for it. And she still wants to fly out first class to Dubai. Anyway, a Scottish Government spokesman said councils are responsible for meeting their legal obligations to their employees, including on equal pay. You should have thought of that 16 years ago. In addition to the real terms increase to local government revenue funding this financial year, we're working with COSLA on a new fiscal framework, blah, 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 load of old bollocks. Nobody's listening. We know you're lying. The trouble is, nobody is going to do anything, and the people of Glasgow are still likely to vote in the SNP. If there's anything more stupid than an SNP politician, it's the morons that vote for them. It's unbelievable. Now, if you live in Glasgow and you vote SNP, you're getting what you deserve. And when your services are cut, just think, well, at least I've got the SNP in charge. And when your council tax goes up, you go, well, yes, at least we've got the SNP in charge. And when your school is failing, and you can't get into work, and you're having to pay £15 to go into town to do your shopping, just be thankful that the SNP are in charge. Oh, and you don't own any buildings, and your town's or your city's in debt for the next 50 years. And there'll be no inward investment because they haven't got the money. But at least the SNP's in charge. Well done, Glasgow. You're a shining beacon in the world of hypocritical stupidity, and I salute you. I'm coming up. And all those good people of Glasgow who didn't vote for the SNP, you know, the wise ones, well, I'm terribly sorry that you have to put up with this. It's an appalling mistake. It should never have happened. But unfortunately, too many of your fellow denizens of Glasgow decided that they wanted this group of basically inept criminals running the city. And I do hope that to a man, woman and increasingly likely child, the way they're going with the ages of voting, that come the next council elections, enough of you get off your asses and vote for someone else. Doesn't matter who. Whoever it is, whichever ward you're in, look to see who's likely to be the second placer. And if it's likely to be a Labour ward, vote Labour. If it's likely to be a Tory ward, vote Tory. One election, doesn't matter. Get the SNP out. Get them out, throw them out, and don't let them ever have control of the money again. Because you can see with your own eyes what happens when the SNP are left in control. You really can't afford to let the lunatics run the asylum any longer. Thank you very much for watching, and do please hit that subscribe button. The channel needs it. We're a political channel and YouTube pushes us down because of it. And so you hitting that subscribe button absolutely helps. And also, of course, hitting the like button. Anyway, until next time, stay safe, stay well, and remember, the elections are coming. Vote them out. Send a message that you will not put up with their inept stupidity any longer. Bye.